Hello, everybody. I'm recording and ask me anything. In theory, I want to do one of these every month, but in actuality, apparently I'm not doing that. Anyway, Hannah does all sorts of incredible things around the stream for me. She's been helping me out for like a year plus, and she was able to put together some questions that people had, and I was just going to hang out and chat about them with you for a bit. So, overall, the stream's been going awesome lately. I just finished a big Spire challenge, and I'm sort of taking a week to chill for a bit. And yeah, generally stuff is going great with the channel and the community and everything. Hop on the Discord if you're not there already and you want to chat with us about anything really, especially while the stream's not live. That's where a lot of people are hanging out. Um, the world's a bit crazy right now. Things aren't going great for everybody. If you need some support, we have a helping each other channel in the Discord. We have we raised $13,000 for Feeding America last month, and I'll be doing some more charity work this month. So yeah, I know that not everything's going so great for everybody, but things are okay at Jorp.tv, and I hope things are going as well as they can be for you out there too. Let's get into some questions. So, Personal Matthew from Patreon asked, wondering what your thoughts are on Mixer as a platform now that it's been in the news so much lately. Would it be possible that it would be something I would utilize in the future? Yeah, one of the interesting things with Mixer and like Facebook streaming as well coming up has been the bidding wars over the really huge streamers on Twitch. So you've got like Ninja streaming on Mixer, Shroud streaming on Mixer, and signing huge contracts. I don't think I've seen publicly how much money they were signing a contract for or anything like that, but signing huge contracts to stream on Mixer instead of Twitch. As a Twitch partner, I have an exclusive contract with Twitch, so I'm not going to be streaming on Mixer anytime soon unless I sign some sort of contract with them. And right now, like, there's stuff about contract negotiations that I'm not going to talk about publicly because some stuff isn't public, right? But I'm like, it's tougher. I'm about like in the top 1,000 Twitch streamers. I have talked to people from other sites about being a streamer there, but I've never been offered like billions of dollars to the point where I'm like, oh yeah, I should do that. So for now, we're just chilling out on Twitch for the moment, and generally, I'm enjoying streaming on Twitch. Jackson Bruce asked, what is it like to have this Jorbs community existing when I'm hanging out, when I'm not streaming? It's really fun. I like the community that I have. I think it's generally super positive. People share some really cool things. People have expertise in things that I don't know that much about. So sometimes I can like ask viewers about something and they'll come back with an answer that I could have worked out on my own. It's really cool to see people hanging out and becoming friends with each other in my community. The fact that my community is a place that like friendships have happened and stuff like that is pretty crazy to me and makes me feel pretty happy. Yeah, if you want a cool place to just hang out with people and play games and stuff, again, the Discord's a great place to do that. Sigurd Sigurdsson asks, I would like to ask, what do you do to prevent back pain? You assume that I spend several hours a day sitting at my desk streaming, etc. Do I do some physical exercises? Do I consciously try to maintain correct posture while sitting? Or is it more about the chair? Does it help a lot when you have some high quality and expensive one or not? So I've been sitting in a Herman Miller Aeron chair, which I custom built for my body about 12 years ago for the last 12 years. And I have never had back pain. And like, no, I don't really maintain correct posture or do physical exercises for that or anything. So I don't know if it's like the chair. I spent like $2,000 on a bed when I moved into this apartment, which if you are in a position where you have some extra income and haven't spent a bunch of money on a really nice mattress yet, I would recommend it. It's been a tremendous improvement to my life. I get really excited about going to bed. It's just a very comfortable bed. Um, yeah, and I just haven't had back problems. I did in my 20s spend a lot of time like cycling and doing slacklining, which is sort of like tightrope walking and stuff like that. So I have like pretty solid core strength, and maybe that contributes. But also, I'm probably just like pretty lucky, and my chair is good, and that's probably a lot of it. I do try to make sure that I do some exercise every day and get some stretches in. I worry a lot more about my legs than my back, though. Actually, I think sitting in a chair, your legs just like the muscles start to tighten up and all that stuff. And I've had more problems with that than with my back. Humph says, do you ever consider playing a move with a higher entertainment factor? Is this Humph? Udi Alet says, do you ever consider playing a move with a higher entertainment factor, even if you find it suboptimal for the goal of winning? How often and what do you think about it? If you do you find it compromises your win rate? Does it have to do with the fact that you stream to a live audience, or you just want to spice it up a little bit for your personal enjoyment? If you don't, how are you still able to enjoy the game after 2,000 or more hours in, which you've probably already seen it all? Yeah, I've played almost 5,000 hours of Slay the Spire, actually. I mean, I do what I want when I play Slay the Spire. I don't try to maximize my win rate in Slay the Spire in general. My win rate is not a thing that I care about. I haven't looked at my win rate for... I guess with the challenge, I was curious how high my Watcher win rate was, because it seemed like it was really high, so I worked that out. But other than that, I haven't looked at my win rate since I made that video about the best cards in Slay the Spire, which I released in like January of this year, and it's May right now. And I just calculated my win rate sort of accidentally with that one. I was more interested in what the win rates of the different cards were, and so I was interested in like setting up a baseline by getting what my win rate was overall. But yeah, I don't care that much. I try to play the game in a way which is fun and entertaining and like good. Like I'm not trying to make mistakes or anything, right? But Slay the Spire is a game where if you want to maximize your win rate, that means like spending a lot of time planning out every single turn, thinking incredibly deeply about all sorts of different stuff. And I don't necessarily want to do that for 6+ hours a day every day while I'm running a live show for 1,000 or 2,000 people. And so a lot of the time I'm just sort of chilling out playing Slay the Spire. I can play at a very high level without needing to go into spreadsheets. At this point in my life, I've played a lot of Slay the Spire and a lot of card games, so I'm just able to do that fairly well. If I ever really want to try hard, I'm not against opening up a spreadsheet and doing some math or something like that, thinking through a decision for a really long time. But for the most part, try harding super hard in Slay the Spire is not something that I care about all that much. And most of the stuff that I care about in the community isn't really dependent on that either. It's more about playing the game, having fun, thinking about like the mentality of playing the game, teaching things about the game. That stuff is all more interesting to me. All right, questions specifically about Slay the Spire from Discord as well. Would a good 5-card deck for Watcher be Wallop, Eruption, Fear No Evil, Empty Mind, and Wish/Empty Fist? That sounds pretty good. Wallop, Eruption, Fear No Evil, Empty Mind, and Wish or Empty Fist. So there's an achievement for winning the game with 5 or fewer cards, right? Which I assume is why this question is getting asked. It seems like that deck would be able to go like Eruption, Wallop, and then Empty Fist over and over again and just win most of the fights in the game. So that seems perfectly good to me, like a sensible thing to aim for. I think that if you're playing that achievement on Ascension 0, you will be able to win with that deck pretty much every time, if you can make it. But I guess the tough thing is going to be making that deck, because you have to remove all of your strikes and defends, right? That sounds pretty good to me. In general, if you're not going for that achievement, there isn't much reason to be trying to go down to a 5-card deck. If you're playing on higher Ascension, if you're going for the heart and stuff like that, the problem with going for a very small deck is that a lot of enemies put statuses in your deck. And when you only have 5 cards, if you have like 8 burns put in your deck, well, you have 8 burns and only 5 cards, and all of a sudden you start to run into trouble. So it's much more normal to build a deck that's, 25 or more cards at least. And in that way, the statuses don't hurt you nearly as much. Also, another thing about this 5-card deck is that it doesn't have any powers in it, because there's like not really any space to put powers in to keep it at only 5 cards, right? But if you have like a 25-card deck, you could have like, instead of Eruption, Fear No Evil in this deck, you could have Eruption and Tantrum, so twice as many Wrath sources, and then 2 Fear No Evils, so twice as many Calm sources. And you could add like a couple of powers, and then all of a sudden, by the time you get to turn 3 or 4 of the fight, you also have Lake Water in play, or a Mental Fortress in play, or something like that. So your deck gets to be stronger for longer fights, while still most of the time doing pretty much the same thing on regular turns where you want to do the regular thing. How do you unlock Pandora's Box? I think it's just always there. It's just a boss relic that you can get. If you have 2 fairies in a bottle, you get 2 more lives. Yeah, they should go off one after another, although I've never actually had that happen, so I'm not 100% sure. Can't wait for the Prismatic Shard Overexplained run. That should be fun. I'm going to record that pretty soon. Yeah, as part of our charity event, we raised a lot of money for Feeding America, broke all of the milestones that I'd set. I had milestones set up to like $5,000, and we raised, I think, almost $14,000. And so one of the things that I added was that I'd do an Overexplained run where I started with Prismatic Shard, and like really got into the decision making that I was doing, which will be interesting because I'm not sure that I'll actually have very good explanations for why I'm doing things, because I haven't really played the game very much with Prismatic Shard, especially not at the start of the run. Anyway, we'll see. Where would Blasphemy go on a tier list for a rare card? I have a Spireside chat on Blasphemy if you want like the 10 to 15 minute answer for all of the stuff that I think about Blasphemy. So I'd definitely recommend checking that out. In general, if you Google like Blasphemy Jorbs YouTube, or if you have a different card, Tantrum Jorbs YouTube, if I've made a Spireside chat about that card already, you'll find it that way, and you'll get my lengthy answer. But for right now, the 2 things that I would say are, 1, I don't have a tier list for rare cards. I don't make tier lists, so I don't have a great tier list based answer for that. It's just not a way that I organize my thoughts in this game. So much stuff changes all the time in this game, such that some of the cards which aren't very useful usually are suddenly the most important cards that you could possibly see. An example would be like Flex. Flex is not a very good Ironclad card, but then there are actually quite a lot of Act 2s where you have a Runic Pyramid in particular, where Flex is one of the best possible cards for you, for like getting through Act 2 elite fights with a Whirlwind or a Pummel or something like that. So I don't really think about cards in terms of tier lists. I think about cards in terms of what they're useful for, so that when I'm in a situation where I have a certain challenge ahead of me, like I have to work out how to make this deck beat the Act 2 elite so I don't die, or I have to work out how to beat the champ so I can get to Act 3 or whatever, at that point I can look at my card rewards and think, oh, this card happens to be quite useful for solving that problem. And Blasphemy, I would say in general, is very useful for the first like 3/4 of the game or more, probably. It's a great card to upgrade, because what you're going to do with Blasphemy is, set up a turn where you can kill all of the enemies, which means that if you draw it without the supporting attacks, you're in trouble. Blasphemy Plus, all of a sudden you're retaining it though, so you can hold it in your hand until you get the cards you need to actually end the fight. And then the problem is just like, if you have a fight that's going to last 10 turns, Blasphemy is going to be a dead card for the first 9 turns. So as long as you're fighting fights which are over in like 3 or 4 turns, which in a Blasphemy deck is going to be like Reptimancer, Nemesis, Giant Head, you can probably kill those in 3 or 4 turns with Blasphemy if you're building your deck aggressively enough. um, this card is going to be great. It's going to be very useful. It's one of those cards that lets you beat like all of the elite fights really easily. A little bit like Electrodynamics or Defect almost. A tiny bit. It's not quite as good in boss fights. It's still useful in boss fights, but it's not quite as impactful. Um, but it does so much stuff for your non-boss fights that you're very happy to take it, especially early in the game, most of the time. Favorite character in the game, least favorite. I just like all the characters in the game. There's a common question, and I imagine that when I'm asked it, it's by people who like just want to find out something about how I think about the game or what I like about the game, or maybe they personally have a favorite character in the game and they want to see if I like that character too or whatever. I think about the game as a whole thing, and the most important thing for me playing it for up and coming to 5,000 hours has been that there are multiple different characters, because if I had to play the same character every time, I would just go absolutely insane. So it's really fun that there are 4 different characters right now, plus mod characters if you want. And they all play pretty differently and have different strategies involved in solving different problems that their unique mechanics present them. Why does Wreath of Flames exist? The only multi-hits are Expunger and Retain 4 damage attack. Well, obviously I'm not a developer of the game, so I can't tell you exactly why Wreath of Flames was made, and I've never like tried to ask them or anything. But the 2 things I will say are, one, Wreath of Flames is a buff which you can stack up over time. So like earlier we talked about Blasphemy, how you're setting up a turn where you deal a ton of damage. With Wreath of Flames, you could play Wreath of Flames like 2 or 3 times, and then you play Blasphemy, and your Wreath of Flame buffs is still there from the previous turn or 2. And all of a sudden your Blasphemy is dealing way, way, way more damage when you attach it to a Twin Strike or whatever. It's actually called Flurry of Blows. So that's one thing. You can use this thing in clever ways with other stuff. But the other thing I'll say is it's completely fine in this game for bad cards to exist. And I sort of hate calling them bad cards, but maybe a more useful way to say it would be it's completely fine for cards which don't have many uses to exist. One cool thing about having cards which don't have many uses is that if you can work out a situation where that card is useful, it just feels really cool. It's very rewarding. If you can work out, in this situation, I actually am building a Conjure Blade deck, and Wreath of Flames actually is quite good in this exact spot, so that I will be able to one-shot the Time Eater and not let the Time Eater like heal itself when it goes below half health, because I'll just blow through the entire second half of its health, no problem. If you can work out that and then use Wreath of Flames to do that, that just feels really cool, because you get this card which most of the time you're skipping, and boom, you've worked out a way to win a run. Maybe you couldn't have even won the run unless you had worked out how to use this card in this way. So that's awesome. Another thing is that cards can show up in your deck in ways other than you picking them or buying them in this game. You can transform into a card, Pandora's Box, Astrolabe, events which transform cards. You can skill potion and be offered 3 cards, and in one of those situations, your skill potion giving you Wreath of Flames may be the most damage that you can deal with a skill potion in a situation where you need damage. And so a card doesn't have to be like good enough to put in your deck very often for you to sometimes end up playing runs with it and having to use it anyway. And yeah, something that a card like Wreath of Flames or Clash or Setup or Reprogram does in the game is it adds an entire new like resource to runs which accidentally transform into it, and you have this like card that you would not usually willingly pick, but all of a sudden it's in your deck and you're tasked with trying to work out how to use it to the best of your ability to help you win the run. And for me, that's very enjoyable. And I've got quite a lot of memories of Slay the Spire, of transforming into a terrible card, which I usually wouldn't take, and trying to work out how to use that card to win the run, and sometimes doing really cool things with it. Phantasmal Killer, Corpse Explosion, back before Corpse Explosion was changed to be very strong. Stuff like that. So that's my answer to that question. Has anyone actually used Reprogram effectively? Reprogram has been reworked to lose you focus and gain you strength and dexterity. And my answer would be probably not. I can remember playing Reprogram deliberately one time. It was, I had orange pellets and I didn't have any focus yet. And so when I played it, I gained some strength and dexterity, lost 2 focus, but then I used orange pellets to cleanse the -2 focus. Now the next time I drew it, I had like 5 focus or something, so I couldn't play it again because I would have gone from 5 to 4 focus, and then orange pellets wouldn't have been able to cleanse any debuff because positive focus isn't a debuff. But the first time I drew it, I played it, and I got 1 strength and 1 dexterity for the fight. So I can remember at least one time that I've done that. But yeah, Reprogram's a tough one to use at the moment for Defect. It's not something that comes up in a lot of runs. It's a weird card because even if you don't care about focus at all, which is weird on Defect, it's very rare that you don't care about focus at all on Defect, but even if you don't care about focus at all, usually Defect has like hyper beams or apparitions or giant genetic algorithms or something like that going on in a run where focus doesn't matter. And getting +1 strength and +1 dexterity just doesn't do very much. Like compared to the other numbers your cards are making, it just isn't impressive. Even if you're like playing a claw deck which doesn't care about focus somehow, which is weird because usually just because you have claws in your deck doesn't mean that you don't want to have like a glacier and a defragment to block with or whatever. But even if you were doing that, like claws, just by playing them, they scale damage way faster than paying 1 energy for 1 strength is going to. So it's a tough card to use super impressively for sure. For getting the 1 relic achievement, would I recommend swapping for a boss relic, or is a character's cards and starting relic strong enough already? I don't think I have that achievement. Maybe I do? I think the hardest part of that achievement for me was remembering not to pick up another relic. I think that, like, probably boss swapping into a 4th energy makes it easier. Yeah, probably boss swapping into a 4th energy makes it a bit easier. You are giving up the whale bonus to do the boss relic swap, keep in mind. It's like that extra wild card. So like if I was on a Watcher attempt and I was offered a rare card for a bit of gold maybe, I would quite likely just choose a rare card because I think that Watcher's starter relic plus a lesson learned, for example, is going to be strong enough to win an Ascension 0 run if you play to what you have. And Watcher can get plus energy from like a Deva form, or an establishment is making energy easier for you and stuff like that. So my answer there is like basically I don't really know, but probably either is good. Yeah, just make sure that you're remembering that trading a boss relic does cost you the other whale bonuses that you're offered, and that's, I don't think it's ever right to always trade boss relic. I think like sometimes the other whale bonuses are just really good. Sometimes the whale bonuses are so bad that I will trade boss relic even playing the game regularly. So it cuts both ways. If you're looking at a really tough act and you have no good whale bonuses, sometimes it's just like, okay, I guess I roll the dice and try to get a good 4th energy and get a dash going or something for my silent run. So, thanks for hanging out for this Ask Me Anything. Those were all of the questions. I feel like this was just sort of a chill video. sort of like a fireside chat, just talking about things. I hope you enjoyed it. Hope life is treating you well. Hope that life continues to treat you and everybody else better and better as the year goes on. And I'll check in with you again sometime soon, hopefully, for another Ask Me Anything. Have a good one, everybody.